Доброго дня.
Good afternoon, dear participants of the briefing, guests and journalists and all our audience online who will watch us. Our topic is dedicated to the tragic events of May 16, 2017 in Olshany village, Kharkiv region, when one person was killed and 3 persons were injured. They were from Roma community, representatives of Roma community and organizations and NGOs are concerned with the hatred to a Roma community, which is xenophobia, which will be we will be discussing this now. Representatives of Renaissance Foundation are our speakers, and representatives of national law enforcement and family of the victim in this tragedy, and representative of Department for Religious Affairs of the Ministry of Culture. There were several tragic cases recent years in Lashynivka, Olshany, Zholutkivka. Every such fact, it has not been investigated properly, and no conclusions were made, and Ukrainian society does not know who provokes such events and whether the guilty persons and implementing persons would be punished for their criminal acts. We need to build consensus with all minorities, communities in Ukraine. Ukraine is a multinational country. It is very important for us. It is crucial to keep peace inside of the country on the basis of ethnic origin. I would like to give the floor to the representative of Coalition of Roma NGOs of Ukraine Strategy 2020, Mr. Volodymyr Kondur. I would like to thank UCMC for this chance to communicate our vision. I would like to thank partners and colleagues and representatives of authorities who have supported us today. What has happened towards minorities, national minorities in Ukraine, gives rise to our outrage, and our Roma community feels this Olshany case as the last drop, which made us an impetus to unite and resist persecutions and discriminations against Roma community. I would like to say that during the period 2016-2017, the conflicts took place and the crimes took place towards Roma ethnic minority, which cannot remain unmentioned. We should monitor them, and on behalf of Roman community and our coalition, we declare today that we start an advocacy campaign today, and we will monitor in what cases criminal proceedings have been initiated. Criminal proceedings in the cases of hatred based on hatred by by ethnic origin, and our goal is to monitor and to control the case of Loshinivka and the case of Olshany and what happened to the Roma camp where the bashing took place. We would like to find this fairness and unite the society. This concerns not only Romas, this concerns all citizens of Ukraine. Thank you, Mr. Volodymyr. In fact, seeking for justice, Roman activists and victims address the Ombudsman office, which is quite right. And I'm giving the floor to a representative of the Commissioner for Observance of the Rights of Discrimination and Gender Equality.
Thank you. We are grateful for the organizations that initiated today's discussion, and I would like to thank the representatives of different organizations, and we are thankful to those people who suffered in the result of the event for being here with us. And I would like also to thank that these people, they now do not afraid and speak openly about the facts that are happening around Roma community. And a year ago, in 2016, in this hall, there was a press conference concerning the events that happened in Loshinivka. And then I said that, in my opinion, Pandora's box was opened and we need to close it, not to have further reaction. And the office also by its own initiative and with the address of NGOs opened 8 proceedings concerning the acts of violence against Roma, and there were some facts of offenses, and now we follow the events and respond. And starting with the Loshinivka in August 2016, we had the same events. People wanted to evict Roma from the community, and there was some aggression against them in Shaludivka, Kazmievsky region, Poltava, Kharkiv region, and also burning in April in Darnitsa, Kiev city. There was an arson in camp, and also in May there was beating of Roma in railway station, central railway station in Kiev. So there were tens of such cases. This is the intolerance toward Roma, and tragic death of a person is the line our society came up to, and we should not cross this line. And I would like to address law enforcers And the Ombudsman, Ms. Lutkovska, addressed the law enforcers on these cases, and I would like to say that law enforcers, they are obliged to investigate each case, and they should investigate the causes, and this is their responsibility, not only in relation to the citizens of Ukraine, but also this is the responsibility before the international community, and in the framework of adhesion of Ukraine to European Union, the human rights issues and the defense of national minorities is one of the priority tasks. And they should not allow discrimination inside country. We should unite our efforts in order to create order in our state and stop intolerance we see now, and efficiently investigate all the crimes, and we should punish those guilty, and we should continue peaceful life in our multi-nation state, and we should also provide the understanding to international community that our actions and words coincide. So thank you very much for this forming of policy, and now we give the floor to our colleague Andrii Yurash, Director of the Department for Religious Affairs and Nationalities of the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine. Thank you for this opportunity to take part in the important event. In the context of these events, Aksana said, I think there is a trend that should be considered. I mean that paradoxically, despite the state now deals with the issue of minorities, including Roma community, some background events appeared. Is there some conscious or unconscious reasons for this? We should provide expert assessment, and the absolute fact that was stated at different level throughout several years in the context of all dramatic events that are happening in our state, the state should pay attention to these problems, and the state does it. And it is evident if we look at national and international level, and also they start to implement different measures that were planned beforehand, and we believe that this is a tragic moment, and why it happens, we all should search for answers. We are responsible. We try to consolidate different environment and groups that exist in analytical sector and in Roma organizations, and qualification of all these crimes. And these are crimes. We believe that this is not the argument for positive. The state should respond properly to such events. That's why it's not a coincidence that last week our ministry published a special report where we condemn these events, and the ministry believes that all these events should be properly investigated, and officials and citizens, they should be intolerant to such crimes and discrimination concerning ethnicity or some other issues. And of course, we should systemically assess these events. We should see the picture clearly. The picture my colleague described so clearly by naming these tens of events, but we do not want to describe them as systemic things. And we should join our efforts, of all NGOs should join. And I would like to once again thank those initiative groups and the coalition of Roma organizations that systemically monitor these events and organize such meetings. This is really important. And I would like to say about important fact that will help us to analyze and to provide some recipes for the future. There should be consolidation in Roma communities and Roma organization, and we call on leaders of different organizations that represent Roma community that they should be responsible in these issues. There shouldn't be any speculations or trying to show maybe some moments that would harm positive efforts that are realized now. And we confirm our position that there should be intolerance to such harmful things. And we hope that there will be a special group meeting that will be created in the group of the Cabinet of Ministers that help with creation of Roma strategy, development strategy, the group that deals with crimes in the area. And we also address repeatedly the Ministry of Internal Affairs in order that this organizational preparational works be done the most quickly, and in order to provide proper decisions to resolve these issues. So sometimes when you treat a disease, there are some complications and people die. And unfortunately, now we have to express our condolences to Mr. Kaspitsky and this family and all Roma community. They wait the resultative and efficient actions. They won't return the father, brother, and son, but maybe there should be some measures and preventive mechanisms in order to prevent these crimes in the future. And this fact needs investigation, and whole Roma community and the NGOs, they came up with an initiative. They want to hear what the state is ready to do and whether they are ready to help the community. And now I would like to give the floor to the representative of the family. This is a brother of the victim, Kaspitsky, Alexander Kaspitsky. Please, what can I say?
All these events, this story, you saw how it happened in the internet and on TV. Our head of administration Interagency demonstrate very the opinion against Roman. So he was engaged in hate mongering and incited hatred. He cried out that I will move you from here in a forced way. He said this to Romas. I worked and my brother, we worked and lived there. We were respected. We are decent people. I can't say something else. Miss Larissa, I would like to add that the most crucial thing which is of concern is that to all cases involved either heads of village councils or members of village councils or executive authorities of villages who either incited hatred to Romas or voiced out their opinions against Romas. I am deeply concerned that territorial communities they vote for well-educated persons to be their representatives, to be deputies of their councils, so they know laws rather good. Then I call on law enforcement officers to start investigation and find out whether there was intention to incite hatred. Thank you for your comment and your question to the national law enforcement offices, to Ukrainian police, because they should reveal the guilty persons who incite hatred in communities and deal with hate mongering, which provoke such tragedies. I would like to answer these questions, the representative of the national police. In this case, I can tell that the investigative department of Kharkiv region has created a task force, and 3 persons were detained, and they are now in the status of suspected. In order to prevent such cases, our department address such issues, and we are ready to cooperate in counteracting such cases. This concerns not only discrimination of Romas, this concerns discrimination by different characteristics and attributes. We are starting the training for trainers on counteracting discrimination cases and preventing them. We hope that the national police will report on this case and other discrimination cases which concerns this bastions, Roma bastions, because there were too many of them recently, and representatives of Roma NGOs declare the intolerance of Ukrainian society. Instead of this zero tolerance, we have zero response on the part of national police. We do not have the volunteers, they do not have such methods and resources that the state bodies have. Vadym Matiushenko, chairman of the National and Cultural Society Romen, will tell us what they do to address these problems. Thank you. I would like to respond to Mr. Yurash. He said that there were low number of cases of conflicts with Romas. There were such cases, but Romas didn't go to police. They still fear going to police because they are afraid of being insulted there. So far, we have NGOs which are protecting and advocating Roma's rights. So we monitor the events when some incidents with Roma citizens involved take place. Of course, such incident, such case as happened, we could not even imagine this can happen. We visited the site as soon as we got to know. It was very painful, not only for the family of the killed person, but for all of us. And if the guilty persons are not punished, this would serve a negative example for other regions, what to do, how to force Romas to move from your locality. Now, the action is in progress. In Olshany, some persons are collecting signatures to forcibly move Romas from Olshany village. We are now addressing the police to prevent such illegal activities. Of course, the problem of Romas is the problem of all Ukrainians. This is not the problem of Olshany or Loshinivka. This is the problem of the whole Ukrainian society. Many people feel hatred because of the war and the bad economic situation. We know very many examples when this is transformed into hatred against individual groups of society, and the Romas becoming victims. This is not the problem of Romas. This is the problem of our sick society. So responsible authorities and NGOs should be concerned with this problem and seek for ways to respond to such challenges. That such challenges could be addressed via uniting of our society groups and forming positive attitudes inside society to Romas. Renaissance Foundation has been helping to resolve this problem, and I would like to give the floor to Mariana Magomedova, representing the programs of Renaissance Foundation, which concerns combating discrimination and in particular Roma program. In Renaissance Foundation, we are very much concerned with the hatred to Romas. The reason is lacking state national anti-discrimination policy and the strategy of protection of and integration of Romas into Ukrainian society is lacking, and anti-Roma declarations of local authorities representatives are not punished by leaders of the country and other state authorities. We see that the failure to act on the on behalf of state authorities results in these cases of hatred, such as Athens in Kiev at Bereznyaki, and Romen at railway station in Kiev, and cases in Olshany and Olshany. Our Renaissance Foundations would like to express our condolences to the victims of violence on the grounds of discrimination by national origin, and we call on state authorities and NGOs to carry out control and monitoring of such cases. In fact, you have heard all the statements of our press briefing so far. One more statement. We have our colleagues among this audience who want to join the statement, so please give them the floor later. Mr. Yurash would like to say something. We have always been trying to respond in a just manner. I told at the beginning that there is some paradoxical situation, and I see the response today. This phenomenon has been in place always, but the policy of our state allowed us to demonstrate that these manifestations are present in our societies. So this is a positive result, showing that the society has been becoming more democratic, and those cases which were unknown now they have become obvious. Maybe this is the conclusion which we should make, that the efforts which have intensified on addressing these problems, they should become deeper and stronger, but there are unbiased things which we have inherited from our past, talking about Kharkiv region where this tragic event happened. Unfortunately, for many years, the state administration have have been missing any department on minorities. Even last year, when monitoring missions from different committees visited Kharkiv region, there was no responsible person for these issues, and only our declarations, our messages resulted in that a person responsible for anti-discrimination efforts was appointed, but he was not professional in this sphere. So I think that as a result of this discussion and other discussions, we should make a statement and address it to all heads of regional administrations to appoint staff responsible for discrimination cases and this sector in general. Now, many myths are invented. We should understand that it does not work to approach this issue in universal categorical paradigms. Authorities should have minimum tools to influence the situation. But relations with national minorities should be addressed by regional administrations. Of course, guilty persons should be found and punished, and all Ukrainians should be communicated information who was punished for the cases in Lashinivka and Olshany. Talking in theory about authorities, we should talk about the responsible persons and the scope of their duties. Indeed, universal categories will not help us to diagnose the disease. Of course, we have a sick body which should be treated with some medicines, but only defining the disease will not help us to cure it. I would like to mention that for those people who address us for help every day, you know how many problems Roma citizens experience, and Roma people feel the governmental authorities as just bodies where the doors for them are closed. Here we have many Roman civil activists. Two of them want to make short comments. Mykola Yurchenko, head of the NGO Ternipe, and our colleague joined us, Mr. Grigorichenko, who also wants to speak here. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. We have arrived from different cities, and not for pleasure, not to have a sightseeing tour around Kiev. We are concerned with serious problems because heads of NGOs see the worsening of the situation in Ukraine. If we make a line we can see that petty manifestations like discrimination cases transformed into arsons and bashing and also assaults. One person was killed. We are strongly concerned. Being a chairman of NGO, I have been receiving calls by telephone, and I want very much that we, as heads of Roma NGOs, are not the only people who would resolve these issues, because they are state authorities who should and have opportunities and possibilities and capacity to resolve these issues. Good afternoon. My name is Mykola Yurchenko. I'm head of the NGO Ternipe. I have arrived here to make a statement. I have a statement to our national authorities at the central level. Well, when local authorities shoot and set on fire camps of Roma communities in Lviv region, young Romas made a flash mob just in European-like fashion. I propose that those people who are not phobic about Romas also take part in this flash mob, which is planned by our organization. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Grigorichenko Petro. I am a president of all Ukrainian Association Romas of Ukraine and deputy director of National Minorities of Ukraine. And first I would like to express my condolences to our Romas from Kharkiv region. Yes, this situation is awful, but unfortunately it was quite predictable. The situation towards Romas, it has been prepared for many years. The first bashing took place in Petrivtsi, Odessa region, when 7 Roma families, households were set on fire. We worked with the chairman of Gennady Udovenko, chairman of village councils. Unfortunately, the committee's actions, thanks to the committee's efforts, the situation was made public, but the Romas were forcibly moved from their native place, and some Romas received 2,000 hryvnia compensations. This was the response of local authorities. There were other cases, for example, in Armenian community and in Jewish communities. There were xenophobic manifestations against Jews as well. For 25 years, unfortunately, the state has not developed the ethnic and national policy of Ukraine, as well as the law about national minorities in Ukraine. The situation still remains in place. No radical approaches have been developed so far. Those events that happened in Lyshinivka, our NGOs addressed state authorities who are responsible for these matters, and there was a sitting of the Committee on National Minorities in Verkhovna Rada and at the Ministry of Culture. We addressed different governmental institutions and Ministry of Internal Affairs and Prosecutor's Office concerning these matters, and also to Commissioner on Civil Rights. And what is the result? The investigation is still in process, and unfortunately the suspicion against a person of Roma nationality, why only Romas were moved from that village, we do not understand. Then 70% of other residents of this village should be moved from that village, because collective responsibility as implemented by Stalin, it was followed. Mr. Yurash will help me. These problems have been increasing, and the National Council of Security Council should pay attention to these facts, and until the state develops strong position, such events will continue to happen. In Kharkiv region, the Roma, the case happened in Olshany, and in Kiev there was an arson in the Roma camp. There were some people who provoked the movement of the Romas, and they, while they were moving the day before yesterday, the group of Romas, where most of members were children and women, this group was beaten, and children were and gas was applied to children. Police arrived in 50 minutes, and unfortunately there were no guilty persons found. So unfortunately the members of NGO life safety, you can see on YouTube, they shot the video. This organization was founded by Mr. Kilov, who is an advisor of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and we were at the meeting along with Romas, and when there was also a representative of Commissioner's Office for Civil Rights, Renaissance Foundation, and local authorities, and Solominsk District Administration, when I wanted to talk with the head of department in charge of this case. He rejected and he voiced out threats, so I gave the telephone set to the municipality representative. We need the response from the National Security Council. The Ministry of Culture have been voicing out their concerns, but this is beyond this ministry's competence to address these problems. This is the level of the National Security Council.
These issues should be discussed in a broad circle together with the Ministry of Internal Affairs and other organizations and NGOs. Thank you. We are limited in time. So it is difficult to imagine that in a European democratic country such things can happen. It's like some medieval fantasies. It's difficult to imagine that these things happen in reality. So we should have the same attitude towards all people, despite nationality or ethnicity. Ukraine should be a country that is friendly to all nationalities. There should not be any discrimination concerning nationality or other things. And all people get united in order to show their attitude. And one of the ways is the way that was shown to us by Nikolai, and I invite everyone to join, and I thank you very much for this discussion. 1 second, please. We have a question from people who addressed us. Olga Vesnyanka, journalist of Gramatsky Radio and Roma Radio Chiriklon, and a question to the representative, to Ombudsman and to the representative of Office of Ombudsman. What do you know about the beatings of Roma at the Central Railway Station in Kiev? We started the case, and the information is placed on the site of Ombudsman. It was placed yesterday, and the representatives of the Secretariat, they came to that site, they met Roma, and we addressed national police in Kiev, and we addressed city administration, and also we addressed police, and this case and the motives of intolerance that is suspected in this incident. We also sent a request to the head of the national police concerning cooperation of the law enforcement bodies, and also why there is, in order to understand the responsibilities of the organization and whether it relates to the law enforcement bodies. So this issue is monitored, so I provided the assessment of this case. It cannot happen in civilized state, and about flash mob also. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Це було зроблено на другий день, саме це гасло. Ромською молоддю у нас на Львівщині. Це те, що вони відчули. Те, що вони відчули, то було висловлено в цьому символі. Прошу.
Тобто ромська символіка і як мішень.
Як мішень.
Потримати, зробити...
Зробимо по-європейськи. Ми все ж таки йдемо до Європи, давайте зробимо по-європейськи.